Hola todos, welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another edition of the Ammo Check, where we just kind of speak on, what's going around general Arsenal things. And today I wanted to kind of speak about two stories that I've seen that I definitely had an opinion on. I know one you guys have probably seen everywhere, and that's Tony Adams talking about the captaincy. And then another one is kind of a Arsenal YouTuber, influencer, speaking about international fans, and I want to address that as well. But let's start with Tony Adams. So Tony Adams, I guess, went on a podcast or a show, and he's talking about the captaincy, and he basically said that he doesn't think that Martin Odegaard is the captain to take Arsenal over the line, and that Declan Rice should be the captain. And I know a lot of fans kind of agree with that, but what I saw on social media was a lot of fans basically questioning Tony Adams, and that doesn't make sense to me. Now, me, I've only been a fan for 10 years. I started in 2015, 2016, so I never actually got to see Tony Adams play. But one thing I do know is the man has a statue outside. He is nicknamed Mr. Arsenal, and he's one of the greatest captains the club has ever had. So for me, that gives me, we're not talking about Tony Adams, the manager. We're not talking about Tony Adams, the player. We're talking about Tony Adams, the captain. That's what we're talking about. And I think there's no better person to say this is what a captain needs than someone who captained Arsenal since he was young, someone who captained Arsenal when we won some of the big trophies in our history, and someone who captained England. I mean, I think he would know what constitutes a captain. Now, from my own experience, as I said, if you guys watch my old videos, I captain this club right here, and I know what it takes. And I think that when it comes to the captaincy, as much as people like Martin Odegaard, he's a good guy, he's a good player, I always think that your captain, for me personally, I think your captain should be someone who does the dirty work. He should be someone who's the unsung hero. So I played defensive tackle. If you know anything about American football, on a defense, he's a guy in front of the offensive line. I got beat up every play. I was not the best player in the team, but I played a very vital role in how we played our defense. So the guy behind me, linebacker, he got the most tackles. He was Defensive Player of the Year. But I'm the one who opened up gaps so that he could go through them and make plays and look nice. And I think that's what you need the captain to be. And you look at someone like Declan Rice, or you look at someone like Gabriel. Defenders, defensive midfielders, they're not going to be on the front pages. They're not going to be the guys who, when you look at the news articles, they're saying, oh, he had such a great game. They're the guys who do the grit work, the guys who do the ugly work. But the guys who you can look at when, you're holding a 1-0 lead to get the game over with. Guys that you can kind of look when it's, you're 1-0 down. And he's saying, don't worry about it, just go forward, I'll protect you. That's the kind of captain you need. And I just don't think Martin Odegaard is that kind of captain. And you think about some of the captains we've had recently. Granit Xhaka, I think he was too fiery to be a captain, as evidenced by the fact that he kind of threw the armband down. I don't think he should have, been the captain. But you look at guys like Aubameyang. Should Aubameyang have been the captain? I don't think so. I don't think your attacking players should be captains just because they're the best player. I think your captain, as I said, should be someone who does the dirty work. Now, a lot of people are saying, oh, but if you take the captain's armband off of Odegaard, then it'll disrupt the team. Did it disrupt the team when Xhaka took it off? Because he stayed around. He stuck around without the captaincy. And guess what? We were still winning games. Nothing broke down after he became captain. I think it's how you do it. It's not, you shouldn't, publicly humiliate him if you're going to do it. You should say, listen, Martin, you're a great player. The players look up to you, but I want to give the captaincy to someone else, and I want you to focus on playing again. I've done it. I've done it as a coach. My captain this year was a running back, and usually don't see running backs as captains, but I wanted to give it to someone who I knew was a workhorse. He took a lot of carries, he got a lot of yards, but when we were down, people looked up to him to take the ball and make something happen. He wasn't the best player. He's a player that got things done. And I think that, even in American football, basketball, you don't just automatically give the captaincy to the flashiest player. You look at, the greatest teams in the NBA. Tim Duncan, for example, was he the most flashy player in the world? No, but he was the team captain because he got things done. He was the rock. He was the pillar. And I think that Declan Rice is more of that guy than Odegaard is. And I think Odegaard needs a space where he can he can provide and he can just kind of, open the game up. And then, I said this earlier and people were just kind of like, well, Odegaard had the captaincy 2 years ago when he was good. So, what's changed? He only had half a year. Well, there's a difference between being a captain of a team that is only expected to get top 4. Because that first season we finished second, we weren't expecting to finish second. We were battling for top 4. It's different being a captain on a team that has lower expectations than a team that's going to win, that is kind of in the conversation to win everything. And I think that's what Tony Adams was saying. Like, he's good for if we were, battling into top 4. But we're looking to win championships. And Tony Adams doesn't think that he's a championship, caliber captain. And that's valid. I don't understand why fans are attacking, and they did it last month with Thierry Henry when he was talking about, kind of our system, our strike. Like, why do people love this manager so much that they're going to slight the guys who have statues? Like, Thierry Henry has a statue outside. Tony Adams has a statue outside. And not just because they have statues, they can have a voice, but these guys know what it takes to win. They've lifted a trophy. We've been here 5 years with Martin Odegaard, kind of our captain or Mikel Arteta in charge. And guess what? I've never seen Martin Odegaard do this. Oh, I have in the Community Shield. But I've never seen him do it with the Prem. I've never seen him do this. I got a picture of Tony Adams doing this. I got a picture of Thierry Henry doing this. I've never seen Martin Odegaard do it. And that's not a slight on Martin Odegaard. I just think that sometimes you have to let your best players be your best players. Like, I would never want Saka to be a captain because I think that it would hamper his ability, I think. Because when you're being a captain, you've got so much to think about. It kind of takes away from your actual flair and your I don't want to lose the ball because people behind me are looking. Like, defenders don't think about that. Defenders like, I'm gonna take the ball from this guy and I'm gonna go. Defensive midfield, I'm gonna take the ball from this guy, I'm gonna progress it. It's not, if I miss a goal as the captain, will people be looking at me? It's just unadded pressure, and I don't think you need it. So that's my thoughts on it. I don't think people should be slighting, one of the greatest captains we've ever had, talking about, he's jealous of Arteta or he doesn't know what he's talking about. I think he definitely does know what he's talking about. He's not talking about tactics. He's not talking about, how we do things at the club. He's talking about the captaincy, and I think he has 100% right to talk about the captaincy. Now, when it comes to speaking about the club, as I said, the second kind of story, I saw a podcast where a YouTuber, I'm not going to name him, everybody knows who I'm talking about, but a YouTuber basically said he doesn't respect international fans because it's different when you're a UK fan. So if you haven't, realized by now, I'm an American. I wasn't born in the UK. I'm from Miami. I've moved to UK. I live in the UK now, live in the south of England. And I can unequivocally say that it's no different being a fan in the UK than being a fan in the US. Besides accents and access. That's it. Like, that's the difference. Now, if he had said, I don't respect people who don't go to matches, I get what he's saying as far as, like, the match day experience. Or if you've grown up in Islington, it's different. But when you look at a lot of fans, a lot of Arsenal fans from London aren't from Islington. They're from other parts of London. So, yeah, you grew up in London, but your local club was Crystal Palace. Your local club, might have been Chelsea, Fulham. It might have been West Ham, and you became an Arsenal fan. Your local club might have been Tottenham, and you became an Arsenal fan. Like, I think it's disingenuous to say, oh, I don't like, foreign fans can't understand. Yes, foreign fans. And when I was a foreign fan, I feel like I'm a homegrown fan now because I live here. But when I was a foreign fan, I woke up early, and, I went to the pub early. You couldn't even get alcohol, really, because it was too early. But you went to the pub anyway because that's who was showing the games. And I think it's the same thing here in the UK. Like, in the UK, there's so many people that can't actually get tickets to the match. There's so many people who actually just go to their local pub to watch the game. So when you're kind of saying, oh, it's different between UK fans and US, it's not really. You guys have the same amount of access. There's thousands of Arsenal fans in the UK that don't go to games, that don't live in London, and they still support. And I think it's very disingenuous for you to say, oh, I don't respect them because they don't know what it's like. Now, if you're from North London, it's different. Your grandfather might have gone to Highbury. Your father might have gone to Highbury. You've seen the stadium. I get that. That part is different. But I don't think you should tell fans, oh, they're less fans. I don't respect your opinion because you live in, Myanmar. You live in Nigeria. You live in Texas. You live in Antarctica. It doesn't matter where you live. If you're an Arsenal fan, you're an Arsenal fan. Doesn't matter where you live or where you're from. If you love this club, you should have a voice. Now, I know he was talking about another fan, Egal, and Egal's a guy from Canada. He lives in the UK now as well. And, some of his takes are super positive, and some of them, sound kind of clickbaity. And I get if he was kind of saying he doesn't agree with Egal. That's fine. If you disagree with, someone that you debate on the regular or something that you hear, that's fine. But discounting an entire group of fans saying that they don't live for, I just also want you to know that if those international fans, I'm fan from Texas, those fans from Singapore, they just went to Hong Kong, they just went to Singapore. Guess what? If you didn't have any fans in Singapore and Hong Kong, Arsenal wouldn't have any money, and we'd be just like Millwall. We'd be just like Leyton Orient. Like, we wouldn't have as much commercial success. This is what's built this stadium. Like, the fans abroad built the Emirates. That's where the money has come from. All that we spend on merch, all that we spend on, the Arsenal Direct store, all of that we spend to watch preseason games. That's how the Arsenal has so much. Look at Tottenham. What's the last thing Tottenham won? But they built a new stadium. You think that just happened because the people in Tottenham spent their money to go watch matches? No. Like, they have an international fan base. It's not as big as ours, but guess what? Those fans from Tottenham, from abroad, those people who spend all that money on merch, those people who spend all the money to watch the preseason game, the people who spend all that money to watch the games during the season, like your Peacocks and, your ITV ones, or whatever you have to pay to watch the game, that's what's made Arsenal, not just the Islington fans. Because if it was just the Islington fans, they'd be a small club. They'd be. Look at Wrexham right now. Like, Wrexham have come from non-league, and now they've built a new stand to their stadium. They're up in the championship. How do you think that happens? Because of all of those fans from abroad that Ryan Reynolds and them got in. Like, it's pretty crap to say, oh, I don't respect international fans because they don't live in the UK. When international fans are what built this club. This club is built on kind of the international reach of Arsenal. Like, it annoys me to no end when people I get people tell me, I get people look at me funny when we start talking about football, and then I start saying, I start talking about Arsenal as passionately as I speak now, and they're just always kind of like surprised because they don't expect an American to know anything about football. Like, just because I'm from America doesn't mean I'm any less of a fan than anyone else who's in the UK. Like, I've hung with a lot of UK guys. I've hung with a lot of people who actually go to games. And you wouldn't be able to tell that, I started following 10 years ago because I love the club just as much as them. I don't think them loving the club for 50 years changes how I feel about the club or makes them more or less of a fan than I am. Like, that's something I just can't get with. And it's something that annoys me to no end when people kind of discount fans. I don't discount any fans. If you're a fan of Arsenal, you're a fan to me. It doesn't matter if you started following 1 month ago. And I think that's the difference between American fans as well. I know that when I started becoming a fan, I became a fan in America. And it didn't matter that I just started watching 2 weeks ago. I was an Arsenal fan. I went to the pubs. They welcomed me. And it wasn't like, no one made me feel like, oh, you're just new to this Premier League thing. Oh, no. Like, go sit in the corner and just learn and watch. No, it was like, oh, you love Arsenal? Yeah, here's some chants. This is what we do every week. This is the pub we come to. Even the guys that, I went from South Florida, the South Florida Gunners. Like, I've only met those guys a couple times. And I still have yet to be to a match. But the way they treat me, it's like, hey, man, you're from South Florida. Here's our pub. We'll meet with you. We have a drink anytime you're in town. It's like your family, right? And I just think it's pretty crap to say, oh, I don't listen to international fans. I don't respect what international fans think. I think that's just easy. I think it's wrong. And I think that, it's crap, to be honest. Like that's all I can say about it. I think it's crap. So please don't come to me with that. I think that every Arsenal fan who loves Arsenal, we're all equal. We love the club. We want the club to do well. And if there's any fans that are crap, it's Tottenham fans. That's who the crap is. That's who we say, and we don't care what they say because they're Tottenham fans. But other than that, that's all I got to say about it. That's all I got to say about that. I just think that some of that Arsenal fan base, they just say things to say things, and they say things without thinking, and I don't think that's right. But anyway, yeah, that's my thoughts on the two stories. The captaincy, it is what it is. We know it's going to be Martin Odegaard, and I hope that he does prove Tony Adams wrong, and he's doing this at the end of the year. But yeah, like, opinions are opinions. Tony Adams is an Arsenal fan. I'm an Arsenal fan. And we just want to see the club do well. That's it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where we come from or, what our background is. We love the Arsenal. And that's pretty much it. That's what makes us Arsenal fan. And that's why our club is so great, because we have so many fans from so many different backgrounds who love it, and live for it. So thank you guys again for watching. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Take it easy.